Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Roller Pigeon Evolution. I'm your host Smitty. My co-host is Luis Quintero. Say hey to the folks, Louis.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, so today we had a gracious invitation by Will. And for you folks at home who don't know him, now I got a question for you, Will. Is it Stenhouse or Steinhaus?
Stenhouse.
It's Stenhouse. So Will Stenhouse, make sure you get that correct, because I've heard it pronounced both ways, but it's Will Stenhouse.
Yeah.
Will has invited us to his home, and we're going to have a conversation about rollers, about his family of birds, and how he's done it, and what he's done. Will is what I call a very aggressive competitor. He's a super competitive person and has done quite well. So I want to get into that. Will, a couple things. How did you get into birds?
My brothers had pigeons before, I had them and all that, so, they weren't really into competition. They was just backyard flyers.
Right, so that was where you saw your first rollers?
Yeah, I saw my first brother. So when I got like in the 6th grade, my brother would like give me like birds that roll downs or stuff like that to have for my own. I made my little personal cage on the side over there.
Okay.
And then, after years and years, I got, better at it.
Right.
And then I started, building my own cages and flying my own birds, learning about how to make a kit and all that.
Okay.
And went from there.
Okay. So what club do you fly with?
Right now, I'm in Secret Society, SSRC.
SSRC. Okay. How long have you been flying with them?
This will be 2nd year.
Okay. Where are you in the rankings on SS? What is it?
SSRC.
SSRC. Where are you in the rankings with them right now?
Well, this year we didn't really have a club fly because of the COVID.
Okay.
Stuff like that, so we just did outside flies.
Right.
And I was in first place so far. And then one of the twins are in 2nd place.
Okay. So who are the twins? I'm not familiar with them.
Chris and AJ.
Okay. Good deal. So SSRC, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
SSRC, which stands for Secret Society Rollers.
Yeah.
Do you know how long that club's been around?
6-7 years.
Okay. I'm not really familiar with.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of clubs out there that I'm not familiar with. Obviously, the club that he flies through is SSRC, and ranked number 1. So that's one of the reasons that we're actually here doing this interview. We want to be able to get a perspective and multiple perspectives from different guys that are flying in different areas that come from different backgrounds, and that's one of the reasons why we're here today. So what family of birds do you raise? Or is it multiple families? Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, I started off, everybody starts off with different families.
Mm-hmm.
I had them all down here.
Right.
And as I was getting them from people, I was noticing like, I'm just getting a lot of junk.
Right.
So what I told myself, I'm just going to start going to different people's houses and watch the birds fly.
Right.
And pick them myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the first person I went to when I first started off was Dave Goss.
Okay.
I saw some birds, and his kid had picked some birds out of his kit in Big Bob, South Hall, and then Keith London.
Right.
And I've stuck with those for the past since 2004.
So Keith London, you had some Keith London birds, some Dave Goss birds.
Mm-hmm. And
So
Bob South Hall.
And Bob who?
South Hall. He got Dave Goss birds.
Okay, yeah. Those are some. I mean, obviously Keith London being an ultra competitive guy that has done extremely well. and just for you viewers at home, there's an interview coming with Keith London, so look out for that one. But yeah, some very good birds. I've seen his birds fly. Mm-hmm. Great speed on his birds. His birds work together. They're really, really hard working birds.
Yeah, they are.
So definitely. Question. As far as clubs, what do you say? Are clubs individual performances or are they group performances? Which is more important?
It's both, because if you have the battle of the club,
right,
it's the group.
Right.
Now if you have like World Cup fall fly, it's individual.
Yeah. That's something that we talked about. When clubs fly, is it an individual or is it actually a group performance? So it really depends on what's at stake.
So like, for instance, we just did the Royal Rumble.
Right.
We basically tried to fly as groups because we wanted everybody to be in the top.
Right.
anything. We didn't care who won it, as long as it was somebody in our club.
Who did win that?
Happy
in the high desert.
Yeah.
Right. As a matter of fact, I was there at his at that flop.
Yeah.
He had some hard-working birds.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, for a minute they were scary because we watched his birds come down, and it looked like he was going to DQ for a minute, but he did really good. I remember that particular fly because I came here to watch your birds fly, and your birds. The first part of the fly started out doing really good, and then they went up. They skied up. They weren't judgeable.
The reason for that is because I never fly early in the morning like that.
You fly late in the evening.
I fly from 10:30 to 11 and stuff like that. So they gave me the early fly, and I was trying to prep them, at that early. But every day I noticed that they'd go up, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to starve them.
Exactly.
So I just said, you know what, hey, I got to score what I can score.
Yeah.
While they're down.
Do you remember what your score was?
130.
So with a 130 score, now keep in mind, his birds skied up, so half of the time they weren't judgeable. When they came down, they scored a 130, which is impressive for considering that was only half of the time that they actually flew. But for me, one of the things that I saw that was extremely impressive is Will's birds. They didn't just turn and waterfall. When we say waterfall, the birds turn, one bird turns the lead bird and the rest of them go after it. His birds did something that I thought was quite unique in that they hit what I call the wall. His birds are going, and all of a sudden, it's like if you had all the birds tied together by a string and you yanked it, and boom, everybody went at the same time. And that, when I saw it here, I'd seen it before, but I hadn't seen it locally in a long time. And when I saw it, I was really stunned that those birds did it. And then they did it again, and I was like, wow, that was really impressive. So it's a thing that we call hitting the wall. Now, tell me something about that, because it's a unique trait, characteristic, or something that's how was that acquired? Where did it come from?
These birds I got from this older guy in Seattle. And I shipped them out here because I was out there on a skate trip and I saw his birds flying.
Right.
And he gave me like 7 birds. Now when I seen them fall at the same time, I'm like, wow, I need that in my loft.
Because you've been raising birds for how long prior to that?
20 years.
And that was something truly unique, was it not?
It was.
Yes, it was. It's impressive to see. Yeah. So for you guys out there that your birds don't hit that wall and they don't break like that, that's something to strive for. And when you see it, and later on I'm going to try to get it on tape and try to where we can show people at home what exactly that is, but it's a super impressive thing to see rollers roll in that fashion. But go ahead.
So when I seen that, I started breeding them.
Right.
And what I did was I wanted to get my white heat birds and the smoke birds to do the same thing. So I crossed that into them.
Right.
And you'll get maybe about, if I bred 20, you get about 7 that'll do it.
Right.
The other ones just keep doing it individually.
So do you think that that's something that is genetic, that's bred into those birds, the English birds?
Yeah, it is.
It's something, I was watching a video years ago, and it wasn't Mason. What was the other guy? Ollie Harris. It was, as a matter of fact, Ollie Harris was on the video, and Mason was on the video, and they were talking about the English birds versus the American birds. And one of the things that they said that stood out in my mind, because I watched the whole video, it was probably like an hour-long video, but one thing stood out in my mind that kind of shocked me, blew me away, but really connects to what you're saying. One of the things, and I think it was Ollie Harris that was saying it, I don't know the gentleman personally, but he said, if I lost all my birds and I had to get new birds, I'd come to America to get my birds. He says, pound for pound, as far as speed, the American birds are better. But he said the Americans breed individuals. They don't breed teams. We breed teams. Our birds work as teams. When we stock birds, we stock teams. We don't stock individuals. Americans breed birds and they expect them to operate as a team when they breed and stock individuals. And it's something completely different than what we do on this side of the pond, but they stock teams. When they stop to breed, it's a team that they're stocking and they breed that team. So I think that team aspect ties into what you're saying as far as how those birds hit the wall. They work as a team.
Because you got to understand, like, when your birds roll an individual, and let's say you're getting judged, right?
Right.
It's so easy to score when they all fall.
It's unquestionable.
Yeah.
It's boom.
When you got 2, then 3, then 2, then 3 fall, you're not when you got them all to fall at the same time,
right?
That's good. Like that's what you want, and that's what I've been getting. And every one I see that when they fall, and I see the ones that stay up, I move them.
Exactly, because they're not part of that team.
And then, cause I got birds in there, I got birds that's in there that's 2 and 3 years old right now since I've been having them.
Right.
They will break probably twice a minute for the whole time they're flying.
Right.
And that's what you want.
That's a. Now, when you say birds break twice a minute, for viewers at home that don't understand that, explain that, what you're talking about.
When 5 or more
right
go at the same time, twice a minute.
Breaking. And in kit competition, you want your birds to break. If your birds break together, if you have the whole kit. Now, do you fly 20 or 16?
I fly 24.
24?
Because I always fly 24 birds.
No, during competition.
Oh, 20.
Yeah, so you're flying 20 bird kit.
Yeah, I always fly 24 because just in case you got a falcon attack and he takes a bird.
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still got 2 backups.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I add another one in after my fly.
You do 24, I do 25.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I always keep 24 in there because you never know what's going to happen. I hate flying 15, 16, and 17, something like that, because it seems like the brakes ain't as strong.
No. I agree with you on that one. As far as the birds churning together, back to that video that I saw with Ollie Harris, and they threw out some birds, and this is really the shocking part of that video. So he went into his loft, and I'm gonna try to find that video. You got to see it. Mm-hmm. He went into his loft and he started throwing out, and I'm like, man, that's a big old kit cage. It wasn't his kit cage. Guess what it was?
His breeding cage?
He was his breeding cage. He was flying his breeders.
Wow.
They threw up probably 75 birds. And I watched those birds and I was just stunned. I mean, these were his breeders.
Yeah.
And they were just boom, 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 back to back. And these were breeders.
Yep.
And he said, we've always flown our breeders. We don't pop our breeders down. And I'm just like, wow. But obviously, their predator problem is not like what we have here today. So, but it was stunning to watch birds that he had been breeding for all these years go up in the air and perform with just great speed and depth. The depth was really the surprising part. I was like, wow. But again, he flies these birds on a regular basis. So, but yeah, I would definitely myself like to go to Europe and see these birds, and interview these guys and just get, again, a different perspective on it. But back to what we were saying, as far as that being a inherited trait, in your opinion, it's definitely an inherited trait. And by crossing those birds, you've been able to bring those to the families that you have.
Yep. That's how I brought the Kevin Monroe birds in.
Right, which are also English.
They're also
English line. That's really interesting.
And they're even better than the originals.
Wow.
So
that was the guy in Seattle.
Yeah. Kevin Monroe's is a little better than his.
Wow.
Got a little bit more depth.
So when you look at roll, what do you look for in the roll itself?
I look for like a bird, like clean roll.
Right.
No showing no wings and all that, but I mean, they don't have to be blur speed.
Right.
You know?
Right.
They can be probably from 1 to 10 or 7. Mm-hmm. And I'm satisfied with that because you're not going to get 20 blurs.
Right. No.
I'm sorry.
No, that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I more than average is better for me.
Right. So what do you think about roll downs? Because some people have different views. What do you think about roll downs?
I used to love them back then, but
so did I as a kid. I did too.
I just don't think a roll down is something that you can work with.
Yeah. So his position is a roll down isn't something you can work with. My position is exactly the same. I personally don't care too much for them because I think it's a genetic flaw. You know? There are some people that have a completely opposite position. I know one person in particular that literally breeds out. His philosophy is the hens carry the depth and the quality. It's not the cocks. So you breed out of a cock that's a roll down, you can't produce roll downs. it's contrary to most people. You know, and in his family, it probably works. In my family, I trash everything. You know?
I tried it one time. Tried it about 10 years ago. I said, it was a roll down. Bird spent, the roll was just amazing. That's why I said I wanted to try it.
Yep.
So I tried it on a hen. That was probably like 20 feet.
Right.
Tried it on her. Babies came out, man. I was like, oh, maybe it's going to work. It's going to work. I held them over for the next year. All 4 of them rolled down.
They crashed. Yeah. So with roll downs, it's actually been proven pretty much that if you breed roll downs, if you breed out of roll downs, chances are 9 times out of 10, eventually those birds will roll down, and they carry that gene, so they're going to pass it on to their offspring, and you end up with a bunch of roll downs at the end of the day. So we talk about birds that bump. What's the difference between a roll down and birds that bump to you?
Well, a bird that bump usually is in the feeding of the birds. That makes them bump. But if you feed the birds like sometimes they usually don't bump. Like I really don't get bumps like that no more. But occasionally they will bump. If a falcon comes and hits the kit and they're flying down, they'll spin and boom.
Yeah, it's strange when they do that. They hit and they'll all break at the same time. Yeah, I've seen that.
Bumping is nothing a problem with me. I just probably won't breed it if it continues to bump. Yeah. But if it bumps once or twice a year, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
I'm of the same opinion on that. Bumping is one thing. Bird rolls down, that's different.
Because you know where you release birds out of the kit, they come out.
Sometimes they come out hot and they'll roll. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I like to see them go up first.
Yeah.
So that's why I use this thing.
Right.
So they looking at that more than
opposed to yeah. Now I'm a little different in that when they bump and if they continuously do it, they're done.
Oh yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. I don't keep them. And that's just my thing. To me, it's a bad habit. You know what I mean? And if they're triggering, even if they come out hot, they're triggering. I particularly don't like it, so I tend to call or get rid of them.
Yeah.
Another question: do you breed open loft or you breed individual?
But both. Certain pairs, the birds that I really want to focus on, I do individual. Yeah. And I foster a lot too. That's how I got so many birds from that family.
How many birds do you think you have total?
Shoot, I got 10 kids up there.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of birds.
But most 80% of them are fostered.
Right.
So
now you foster them on rollers or you foster them on
rollers?
Okay.
The birds I say I'm gonna get rid of.
Yeah.
I'll use them as foster parents for right now.
Wow.
Like I have a couple of pair in there that they'll feed every baby in the cage.
That's good to have.
Yeah.
See, I like homers because they'll pump those babies
but
up.
Homers kill roller babies when they hatch. They're just little. Homers will step on them and kill them.
That's true. But you have different size homers.
Yeah.
You have those giants, and then you have the ones that are really not that far off.
So usually when I put them under the homers, I usually put them under the homers probably when they're a week old.
Okay.
Then I put them up under.
Yeah. I've had them squash babies too. Because they're not the most gentle birds, should I say? Another question: who would you say was your mentor? I know your brothers got you started, but like you said, your brothers were really into the competition aspect of it. Who was your mentor? Who was the person that you looked to, that you fashioned yourself after?
There's 2 guys.
Okay.
There was a guy named David Thompson. He the one showed me how to what a kit was and how to fly them together like 20 birds. I used to just fly the breeders and all that at the same time. So he told me, no, you fly the babies and do the kit birds separately.
Right. How old were you when you got started with the brothers?
Probably about 14.
Okay.
And then Keith London.
Okay.
Yeah, Keith London showed me how to feed and how to fly and how to pick them and how to breed, color coordinate, all that.
So we talked about crosses. So, I mean, some people are purists and they believe in, I'm just going to keep my family pure. How do you feel about crosses? About crossing birds?
I love it. I went from not crossing and scoring probably 100 and some points or that to crossing to scoring 300-400.
Right.
So
big difference.
Big difference.
Now, say with those crosses you were able to increase your points. If you look at the points, in Europe and you look at the points in the United States, you know there's a big difference. If your birds are turning all together, you take the multiplier and you take full turns, what do you think that is?
Exactly.
That's why those points are so much higher.
Yep.
So a lot of people say, oh, well, they don't have the problems we do, they don't have the... But you know what? If your birds are scoring 100 points each time, it's not too hard to get to those scores.
And the problem out here in Southern California, everybody's chasing the same family.
Exactly.
Everybody's chasing. They breed, the Higgins, and all that.
Exactly.
And first, I'm gonna tell you like now, if Norman Reed or Higgins was to come watch their kids fly today, do you know he wouldn't claim those birds? They wouldn't.
I believe it.
Oh, that's not my stuff, right there. These guys be, and I'll be asking them myself, why do you stock every bird that comes from a certain bird? You think not every bird is going to be good.
That brings up a very interesting point. You say, why do you stock a bird from just a certain bird? You stock all the babies because you think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've found, and I don't know if you found the same thing, that we tend to project on the birds. Because a bird is great in the air, we automatically assume that that bird is going to be a great producer, and that's not the case.
No.
Just because that bird is a great bird in the air has nothing to do with its ability to reproduce birds that are as good as itself or better. And that, I think, is a big mistake that a lot of people make. They make that assumption, or should I say they project on those birds, well, this bird was a champion in the air, so he's going to produce champions. No, not necessarily. I've bred and flown birds that were great in the air and produced garbage. And I mean, I put them two of my best together. Those birds didn't click, they didn't hit, and they produced garbage. And I couldn't understand. So, understanding that breeding birds, flying birds, two different things. Putting birds in the loft and creating a breeding program, like one of the things I wouldn't say I would always, one of the things that I've come to understand is that what happens in the loft as far as breeding is literally more important than what happens in the air.
Yeah.
Because one is an extension of the other.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've been taught that's kind of backwards is that the most important thing is the kid. No, the most important thing is the breeders, is what you do and how you do with those breeders is going to reflect in the air. And that is one of the things, so many people, they say, oh, I can't lose that bird. Well, if you can't lose that bird, what you produce it on is, what is that?
Exactly.
You have to be able to do it in the loft before it's in the air.
Yeah.
So, for me, type, family background, all of that is extremely important, but that takes place in the loft. You know, one of the things that we were talking about earlier, one of the cockbirds that you brought out was an English bird, and we were talking about the size of that bird and how. Do you have any youngsters off of that bird or birds downbred off of that bird? Yeah. Do me a favor, grab one because I want to show the folks at home that bird. Balancing birds. So this bird right here on the right, the blue grizzle, this blue grizzle cock is an English bird, right? So this English bird, if you look at it as far as size goes, the bird is a lot longer. The bird is a lot longer in length. If you look tip to tail, from the tip of his wings to the tip of his tail, you're looking about an inch, maybe inch and a quarter. Longer bird. As far as body, me personally, I like birds that have a little more body mass, that have a little more muscle. So from cock standpoint, I like this bird. Now, one of the things that I always talk about is hens dictate type. Hens don't contribute to type, hens dictate type. A bird like this, if you want to correct that type, because this is a breeder type, if you want to correct that type to produce kit birds, what Will has done is exactly what I would do. So he took that cock and put it on a hen that is extremely typey. Look at the tip to tail ratio. So she's looking very small from tip to tail. The bird is a very, very tiny bird. This is a white heat bird. And this is what he put together, this pair. Now, again, that's balancing the size of your birds. This bird has everything that you want. This bird gives it type. So what would the babies come out like? Now, if you look at this cock bird and you look at that hen, and what I'm saying is hens dictate type. Let's look at the son. So I'm gonna take this little hen out of there. Let's put the sun in there, Will. Bingo. That bird took the hen's type. Look at the father. There's no way that that bird took his father's type. Hens do not contribute to type. Hens dictate type. That's mother and son. That's her type. Look at the tip to tail ratio on it. It's exactly like the mother's. Look at the head size. Look at the beak size. Everything. You look at the eye color it took from the father. It actually is a black with pepper head, carries grizzle. Both of these birds are grizzle. One's a red grizzle, one's a blue grizzle. That bird is a grizzle. So just a perfect example of balancing your size when you're breeding kit birds versus, now you flew this black and white, the black? How was he in the air?
About 30 feet.
30 feet, good speed on them?
Yep.
Yeah, the white heat birds have amazing speed. The English birds, I'm becoming more familiar with them, but awesome combination. Okay, here's another example. So this is the father and this is the son here. It goes back to the blue grizzle cock that we were just showing you guys. Now, one of the things, if you look at this cock and you look at the son is quite a bit bigger. So how did that happen? Again, when you talk about type, hens dictate type. If the cock dictated the type, his son would be just like him. But I'm going to show you the hen that Will put this bird to and what caused it. Again, look at the type. The hen is longer. The hen is higher station. And look at her son. She produced exactly what she was. She produced a higher station bird. When I say a higher station, she's taller than the cock. She produced a son that's taller than the cock. She produced a son that's longer than the cock. Hens dictate type. I can't say it again. Hens dictate type. You know, that's something you need to really be conscious of. And the reason I say that is because when I say this, when I say hens dictate type, if you want to correct the type in your birds, focus on your hens and you can fix it extremely quickly. We're talking one generation. One generation. If you breed 10 birds out of a pair, 8 of those birds, if not 10, will come out with the hen's type, not the cock's. Very seldom you have a cock that will dominate the mating and produce his own type. I have a cock that does it, and he only does it half of the time. But most of them, they don't. They dictate. Thank you. So, my question to you, when I called you and asked you, I told you I wanted to do an interview. Why did you think I wanted to do an interview? Did that surprise you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, probably because, you know, I'm serious about this hobby.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, I mean, because you're kind of an enigma in that you can ask a bunch of people, well, who is Will Stenhouse? What do you? There's no information there. No one can tell you much about you. Yeah. You're not a man of many words. I mean, I'm sure you've seen me at the shows and whatever.
Yeah.
Most of the time, your arms are folded and you just kind of watching. But you don't really. You have a lot of guys at the shows that are very boisterous and they got a lot to say. You've never been one of those people. Yeah. And one thing I do, I watch people. And being very serious, being very competitive, that is something for me that drives me to people. Those are the type of people that I want to know more about, because the ones that do all the talking, 9 times out of 10, that's all it is, and there's not going to be a whole much much more than that. You know.
I sit home and I do my homework on the birds.
Exactly. Man. Did you hear what he said? He does his homework. That is extremely important.
See, people get upset. You know, it's funny because people really talk about you if you got 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah.
Why?
So it brings up another point. One of the things that I've come to learn, the people who compete at the highest levels always have holdover kids. If you think you're going to come into a competition with first-year birds that you bred that year and whoop everybody, you're delusional.
Yeah, you are.
It's not. You may get lucky, but that's what it is. It's luck. It's not skill. The guys, if you look at Keith London, you look at yourself, you guys have holdover kids. Those birds have to learn to work as a team. They have to learn to perform together. And that takes time. It's not first-year birds. I've watched guys like Dennis Godare. He would come back. Now, Dennis had 7 kits, 1 through 7. And when I first met Dennis Godare, just kind of getting off task, but to the same point, I ended up looking down at his birds, and he threw up a kit. Matter of fact, when I got there, the kit was already up. And I watched the birds fly. And when the birds came down, I said, man, there was a white grizzle. It was a white heat bird. And I said, that bird just was like a baseball. She was just amazing. Can I see that bird? He said, go down and open number 7, and she'll be in there. And I said, okay. So I went down and opened number 7. and I looked at that bird. That bird was 7 years old. That was a 7-year-old bird. And I was just like, that's crazy. He's flying 7-year-old birds.
It's funny because I got 3 hens in there. That one's 11, and the other 2 are 6.
2011 or 6 years old?
One's 2009.
Right.
And the other one's a 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 of them.
So just to tell you.
They can't lay eggs anymore. So
Right.
instead of just throwing them off to somebody,
Right.
throw them back in the kit.
Right.
That's what I did.
Well,
you get lucky.
Yeah, and they probably still perform.
They do.
There you go. So having holdover birds is extremely important if you're going to compete at the highest levels.
Yeah.
Excellent. So back to the reasons that I wanted to interview you, because I wanted your perspective on things, because yours is a unique perspective, having that you've been successful, and a lot of people would like to be in your shoes as far as being number one in the club, and there's a bunch of other things. So one question, as far as feeding your birds. How do you feed your birds? What do you feed your birds?
14%.
14%, that's it? There's no... That's it?
That's it.
14%. You just throw it in there.
Throw it in there.
That's interesting because so many people have so many little tweaks and so many different
Tried
things.
all that.
It makes no difference to you. Wow. 14%. I feed...
I tried all the soft, straight wheat.
Yeah.
I tried Milo. I tried, what's the other one? Barley. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Nah.
My birds don't even like to eat the barley.
They don't.
They pick all around it, but they won't eat it.
They will not eat it.
Yeah. And it's because it's sharp at both ends, I think. Has something to do with it, you know. Do you give your birds grit?
Yeah.
Okay, you do feed grit. As far as vitamins, what do you do?
Vitamins, I give them like, it's in a salt rock.
Okay, it's a mineral. It's a mineral. Yeah.
And then I sprinkle the stuff over the feed.
Okay. Yeah, so you do give vitamins, and you know, one of the things that a lot of people don't do is give their birds the salt, and sodium is something that they have to have in their diet.
Yeah, they do need that.
So having that salt rock. Do you know something
you always give your birds something that they attack.
Yeah.
If they're attacking it for a reason.
Yeah, because
even though
it's something
you
they're
put a salt
missing.
rock in there, they fight over that thing.
Exactly. I was watching your birds just a minute ago. They were going back and forth with that salt rock. And it's funny to see a pigeon lick something because you don't think pigeons have tongues, but they actually will. It's kind of strange. One of the things I do, or should I say one of the things that I was looking into, because with the Homer guys, I mean, and most of the things the Homer guys do translate to what we do. They use a lot of brewer's yeast. I've never looked into, and that's one of the things that's on my list to research, what brewer's yeast, what benefit it is that it has for pigeons. But that's on my list. Another question, what is your goal in competition? Obviously to win, but what is your goal to win the World Cup? Tell me.
Yeah, to win the World Cup, and I'm trying to, distance myself from a lot of guys. Right. So, and I'm working on it. I'm getting better and better every year.
That's good. So,
it's coming. It's coming. My day is coming.
So, do you have a preference for when you fly your birds, all hens? Because some people fly all hens, some people fly all cocks, some people fly mixed.
I tried that one time. What it is, sometimes the hens, I think the hens are like, they fly high.
Mm-hmm.
They take the
kid
cocks,
up.
The cocks will keep them at a good, height.
Right. So you prefer mixed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried the hen team and all that. I did pretty good with them.
Right.
And all that with the hens and cock teams, but I prefer it mixed.
Do you think you produce a larger number of good hens or a larger number of good cocks?
Cocks.
Yeah. It's funny because most people just the opposite. They produce a lot of good hens, but the cocks tend to be different.
Cocks last longer too, it seems.
Yeah. In the air, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What is your biggest obstacle? Has been your biggest obstacle as far as flying birds, as far as just having rolls? What's been the biggest obstacle? Has it been the BOP, birds of prey? Has it, been disease? Is it what do you think has probably caused you the most headache?
The BOP.
Yeah. And I think in California it's gotten worse.
Because I had the sickness one time. It was probably like in 2010.
Right.
That was the worst ever. I damn near had to start all over again.
EMV or?
Yeah.
We've all gone
it
through
wasn't not the shaking thing, turn the head thing.
Okay.
It was one where they paralyze themselves. You know what I'm talking about? When they can't walk. They like feet.
It's like they break down in their feet. They can't stand up.
Yeah.
I haven't had that one. What was that?
Oh, that was bad.
Oh, that's what is it called?
It's called
paratyphoid?
Paratyphoid.
Yeah, it's paratyphoid. Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I had that really
and they get
bad.
the wing boils where they can't fly. Yeah, I've seen that.
I had that and it went through my whole breeding law. Only about 7 birds didn't have it.
Yeah, see, years ago I bought a bird from a guy. He's no longer in pigeons, and I picked the bird out of the air. It was a muff, and I remember at the time I paid him $120 for the bird, which was a lot of money back then. But it was just amazing to watch this muff drop. Beautiful bird, and I took it home and put it in my loft. We didn't believe in quarantine back then because we didn't know anything about this. And man, it was like probably 2 weeks later, everything's head started spinning, and man, I went through and I called everything. I mean,
I had to too. I had to give it everything, though.
I had a couple birds that I held on to, and then their heads started to spin, so I just called everything and I had to start from scratch. So I know how that is, So, question: when someone says type, what does that mean to you? How would you explain what type is?
The body, the feather quality, the keel, all that.
Right. How important is type to you?
Type ain't really important in the air. To tell you the truth, it's not. Because I got some ugly birds up there that get it in.
Right.
The type is important if you want your birds to look good in the cage.
Right.
But in the air, type isn't important to me.
It's funny because one of the things I was talking about with John Vandenbroek is, some people believe type is everything, but it's not, because I've got birds that, like my what I call my blur hen. That bird has the most horrible type I've ever seen. But guess what? She generates the force necessary to blur that roll like that. And that whole family of birds, I can't understand it.
Like my bird Clinton.
Yeah.
His type ain't all that.
Yeah.
He got long legs.
Yeah.
Like Clinton throws some hell of a velocity bird.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. What is your biggest accomplishment in the roller hobby thus far?
Biggest accomplishment?
Thing that you point back to and say, yeah, I did that.
When I beat Jerry Higgins and all them.
Now, tell me about that.
It was a summer fly. It was a summer fly. I remember, I think it was probably like 2008.
Right.
I think, not Jerry Higgins, sorry. He was already done. I beat Robert Parker, Dwayne Holmes, and all that.
Right, his protege.
Yeah.
And so who all was in that fly? So Robert Parker, Dwayne Holmes.
It was the final. It was everybody. Everybody was in that fly. But then the final 4, it was me, Dwayne Holmes, Tim Decker.
Okay.
And
Tim was in the fly.
Tim Decker, and I believe it was Parker. No, or Sal Mendez.
Right.
It was us 5.
Right.
And I beat all of them.
So that's pretty hefty, because you figure, I mean, us coming up, those are the guys that I want to get birds from him. And to get to a point where you beat those guys in open competition, that's pretty impressive. How do you think, or should I say, do you think color affects roll?
Nah. It doesn't.
It doesn't really matter what color the bird is. The bird's gonna roll.
Because I had a cream in my #1 team for 5 years. Right. And she was rolling just as good as any other bird. Yeah. So it's color is.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. The only instance that I would say color affects roll is when you're talking soft feather birds versus hard feather birds, like recessive reds versus blacks. Because I know in my family of birds, and again, there's differences in families that have to come in play. Like mine, in my family of birds, my recessive reds, always roll deeper. My blacks have better speed, but that's why when I breed them, I breed black to red for that reason. Because, and over the period that I've been breeding these birds, now my reds and my ash reds, because you get a lot of ash reds when you breed that combination, or they look like ash reds, they have gotten better. To where the speed is almost balanced now. I mean, I don't stock a lot of birds from the air except hens, but in the last, like, two weeks ago, I stocked 2 cocks out of the air and a hen. And I usually don't stock cocks out of the air. But I would be hard pressed to not stock those birds. That's how good they were. I watched these birds fly for probably about a month, and Louie and I were at the house, and I said, there's a lot of blacks in my kit, so trying to pick one out is kind of hard. So we spent that entire day, him with the glasses, and we were watching, and finally the birds came down, and we watched it, and he finally dropped, and we said, there it is. And we watched this bird, and it came down, and I stopped it, and I was like, wow, I've been trying to figure out which bird this is. And it's funny because I like deep birds, but I don't stock a whole lot of deep birds. This particular cock, I had estimated that he was what did I say, how deep it was, 60 feet? About 60 feet in the air, which is pretty deep.
Yeah.
But what was impressive, he entered the roll and exited the roll. No difference. He never slowed that roll up. Some birds, you look, they'll enter the roll and then they come out of the roll and it's different. No, he was extreme, and he had what Louis, what do we call it, hang time? Because you literally sit there and watch it, and it's just like, damn, is he really? So we watched this bird. It came down, and I stocked it. Now I said, there's a hen. First I thought it was one bird, but I thought he would go short and then he'd go long. He'd go short and then he'd go long. It was 2 different birds. They were both blacks. So when we threw the kit back up, I said, there's a hen in here. This is the one I think it is. So I spray painted her wing gold so I could see her in the air. And I threw the birds up, never saw the bird again. It didn't fly. It was gone. Falcon snatched it. At least that's what I had assumed. And I said, man.
The one you sprayed?
Right. It disappeared. It disappeared. And I never saw another bird roll like that in that kit that day. So at the end of the day, I was back there, it was late, and I walked by the kit cage and the bird was sitting on the kit. I was like, oh my God. So, but I'd still never seen it fly. You know, I hadn't seen it fly, so I couldn't say that was the bird for sure, even though nothing else in the kit rolled like that. So the next day I threw the bird out and watched it, and I was even more shocked because I realized I had made a mistake. The mistake was that hen, the cock I called 60 feet. The cock did twice the depth of the hen. I watched the hen, she was 60 feet. So if she was 60 feet, he was over 100 feet. And that's when I was like, oh man. I was like, wow. And that bird did it from top to bottom. How many times did you see him do it, Louis?
10, 12.
And back to the kit. He's dropping 100 feet out of that kit. And it's funny because when he dropped out, you couldn't miss him because he was so far away from the kit. But he was right back in the kit. The kit would turn, boom, he was right back in there. Then you see the other one go, the black. So I ended up stocking those birds, and then we ended up looking at the paperwork to see what they were off. They were both off the same pair. One was the first clutch, and one was the last clutch. And I was like, wow. Just to tell you, when you're looking for a specific trait in birds and they're in the air, you can find it and not even know you're looking for it, but they all came off of the same pair. So
best bird I ever seen spin was a oak.
Wow. Wow.
I've never seen nothing spin like it.
Where did it come from?
John Jones.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We saw some opals.
John Jones. He was an ugly, raggedy opal.
Right. He
was an ugly, raggedy. He said, fly this bird. I flew him. And you see the trees right there, the 4 trees right there?
Yeah.
He spit so fast, he spit and went through the tree.
Oh wow. And those things are pretty densely packed.
Popped out of the tree and did it again. I was like, and he showed, you know, they showed a hole.
Yeah.
He didn't show that.
Yeah.
All you saw was this. It's just a shrink.
That brings up a good question. A lot of people talk about the donut. What do you think about that?
I think it's rolling slow to me.
We have the same opinion. It's funny because that's one of the things that I talked about. A lot of people say, oh no, they got to show to me, that's a lack of speed.
Yeah.
When there's no hole, it's just a solid rock, you know, it's a baseball. That is the type
when
of
you
roll.
got a black and white, right?
Yeah.
And you don't see the white flights.
They just disappear.
That speed.
Yeah, he's moving.
Right
he's
there.
moving. That's cool. We're the same opinion on that. So training young birds. Tell me what your regimen is, or how you go about training young birds.
What I do is when I put them in the kit box,
Mm-hmm.
I let them sit in the kit box for about 2 days, and then I open the door. I don't scare them up.
Mm-hmm.
I let them sit out on the cage for about 4 days.
Right.
Then I flag them up that way.
Okay.
And then I ease them in. I let them come out every hour.
Right.
With the feed.
Right.
So they get to know, and then I flag them up.
Do you use I use what I call training pins, where it's a pin where they go out of the trap, they can go in and out? No, you just open the door.
Open the door.
Yeah. It's funny how we've all got different ways of doing it. Now, I'm me, and I think it's more of a time thing, because I'm not going to sit back there with them, you know?
Yeah.
So I want them to come in and out of that trap and know how to get in and out of that trap on their own. So they're in that cage until they learn how to get in and out.
Yeah,
of
I don't do trap doors.
Really? I do.
Because I've had bad experience with trap doors.
How so?
Cats go in there, possums. I've had a Cooper go in there.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
You know that's why they call them Cooper Hawks.
Yeah.
That's not their name. It's because they go in pigeon coops.
Oh.
That is actually not the name. It's actually just a name we call them, but they have a totally different name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how they got that whole thing.
I'd rather sit out here and watch them go in than.
Yeah. That's funny. So, question: how do you select breeders? When you're looking at breeders, what do you use? What is your criteria for selecting breeders? Birds that you're going to breed. And again, everybody's different in how they do this.
I used to do best to best.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do I'm trying to really because I'm really building my family now.
Right.
I'm trying to go with cousins, nephews, uncles,
Right.
stuff like that.
To keep them genetically connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really working pretty good for me.
Good. Okay. How would you say that your present family that you have today differs from families you've had in the past? What's the big differences to you?
Quality, teamwork, homing instinct.
Mm-hmm. Which are all really important.
Yeah, that's about really it.
It's the quality. How many birds would you say you stock a year?
4.
How many do you breed a year?
200.
So let's rewind that. So he breeds about 200 birds a year, but he only stocks 4 birds a year. Key point: you can't stock everything you breed.
Yeah.
It's about discipline and being able to keep the best. And again, just because a bird is a great performer does not mean he's going to be a great producer. Some birds can be horrible performers and produce great birds. So
you gotta think, because I breed 200, I'm gonna lose 60 to the hawk.
Wow.
So it's people always they need to keep. You have to have a sacrifice kit.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. Okay, they just think, oh, I'm gonna throw a bird in there that's plucked and the hawk can get it. No,
he wants.
You have to fly. You have to train your sacrifice kit like you would train your #1 kit.
Because that's what it's supposed to
Because that's
protect.
what he's gonna go get.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I'm gonna put some roofer landers and pole landers and a falcon go. Falcons don't come get birds off your roof.
No.
It's rare. It's rare that
They're
they
predators.
do. Yes.
If you ever notice that falcons don't land on the telephone pole, land on the wire,
Exactly.
they hit up there.
Yes.
And the most devastating losses you're going to suffer are
Up
going
there.
to be up there. When your kit comes down and 2 birds are missing, or your kit comes down and 2 are slashed up,
Yep.
they didn't get hit by a Cooper, they got hit by a falcon, or more than one.
And the crazy part I used to think about, I always think about it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of my #1 birds there. It was a red, white flight, bald head hen.
Right.
I was just shining about her the other day. Like, she got out, so I had to let the sacrifice kit out.
Right.
The falcon came. He comes like that.
Yeah.
The falcon came in like 3 minutes and darted right at her.
Knew exactly.
She didn't roll at all, none of that. Went right at her and snatched her ass.
Oh.
And I was
and
like,
you're right here at the foothills.
Yeah, and I was like, either the Falcons can read your mind, or something ain't right.
Right.
Why did
right.
you go after her? And I let out 28 birds.
So I'll give you a breakdown of how. First of all, falcons are predators.
Yeah.
A falcon and a Cooper hawk are two different types of predators.
Two different types.
So a Cooper hawk is what you call an ambush predator.
Yes.
A falcon is not an ambush predator. Falcons like to separate a bird from the kit, and once they separate it, then they will attack that bird.
Yes.
A falcon has been clocked at 195 miles an hour on a dive. Yep. So they want a target. If it's a kit, that's not a target. Mm-mm. That is a group. They don't attack groups, they attack a target. So when your birds break up, guess what? It makes it easier for the falcon because he can pinpoint one target. Yep. Now a lot of people think that that the falcon goes like this. That's not how they come down. No. A falcon comes down at a zigzag. Yep. So when your bird is trying to, it doesn't know where to go. You got dropping at 150 miles plus at a zigzag. Yeah, that's, and if you've ever seen how aerodynamic they are, they got a short tail, they have boomerang wings. That is, I
saw a falcon come. This was one of the smartest falcons. I'm glad he disappeared. I don't know where the hell he went.
Right.
He would come like this.
And snatch your birds.
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never see him coming.
I've seen a Cooper do that off the wire. Literally fly straight at the wire, flip upside down, and snatch my birds off the wire. It's like, they didn't even move.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And he disappeared too, thank God. So when I say speed, depth, velocity, quality, what does that mean to you? Are those all synonymous, or are they separate? When I say speed, depth, velocity, and quality, how do you put those together? Which do you look for 2 out of 3 or what?
All of them.
All of them. They all got to be together. They have to have the speed, they have to the depth, they have the velocity, and all that dovetails into quality. Yeah, because there's some people that equate depth with quality. Mm-hmm. And to me, yeah, you can have a deep bird that's garbage. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can be deep, you can be 200 feet, 300 feet, but if it's garbage, it's garbage.
Like I seen like the 1080 bird. Mm-hmm. I saw that bird with my own eyes.
What did you think about
200 feet.
And what did you think of the quality?
It wasn't that good. It started off good, but it ended up, it was sloppy at the end. Yeah. And do you know they really spend money for that bird?
Yeah. I know people spend a lot of money. Yeah. No, I
don't get it, but hey.
So, when it comes to roll, there are different types of roll. Which do you think is the fastest? Because you have an H pattern, you have an A pattern, and what's the other one? It's H pattern, A pattern. There's a bunch of different ones, but what do you think is the fastest?
I never really knew about all that, but I think the ones that don't show that wing.
Yeah, that's the A pattern. Yeah. It's funny because that's the same one that I have gone through it and looked at. I've seen those birds that roll with that H pattern, and it shows the wing. When you see the A pattern, what it is, that wing disappears because it's like this. Yeah. And when it disappears, to me, if it's disappearing, it's because if you look at an edger blade, when that edger blade is spinning, you can't see it. I mean, that's exactly what you can see, the core of it, but you can't see the outskirts of it. Exactly. That to me is really important. I'm a velocity freak. To me, I mean, the club that I represent is VFRC, which stands for Velocity First Roller Club. Mm-hmm. To me, that is the most important thing, having that velocity. And it's the hardest thing to get. You can get depth, you can get frequency, but having velocity, I've seen a lot of people's birds fly, and some of them, they may have everything else, but there's no velocity there. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, you got some really nice birds and they're hard workers, but the velocity.
And a lot of these guys think, okay, because the bird spins really good. Mm-hmm. If the bird don't kit, it's useless.
In kit competition, he's useless.
He's useless at all. And they will actually stock that bird and breed it.
Yeah,
that's why a lot of these guys have that problem right now, kitting.
If you stock birds that are non-kitters, they're going to produce you a good percentage of those birds that are just like them. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of things that birds do are traits that they carry down or they hand down to the next generation. What do you think about blur?
I've only seen it twice.
Yeah? Yeah. It's a rare phenomenon. It's not.
And I can honestly say I've never seen it in my yard.
Yeah. Well, look, the first time I saw it was it's a line of muff birds that I have. and it tripped me out. I was like, did I just see what I thought I was like, how? You know, I questioned it. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something that, you know, a lot of people think you're going to see blur for 2 poles. No.
A blur is about 5 to 6 feet.
And it will disappear on you, and it's like, wow. Where you see nothing, it's just like a shadow of the roll. You can't make out a bird. If someone's show you a blur in freeze frame, you're like, that's not a bird. Yeah, it's a bird. That's how fast it's going.
You know where I seen a blur at?
Where?
First time I seen a blur was one of Barnett's birds.
Barnett Bruley.
Yep.
And we all know Barnett Bruley.
Yep, it was a red. He gave my boy Daryl. And Daryl flew the bird. Mm-hmm. And the girl was like, Will, you gotta come see this bird. And that bird rolled, like if you blink, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
That bird rolled so fast. I said, oh.
Do you remember what family the bird was?
Rocket.
His rocket stuff. Okay. What do you think is the ideal depth? Two ways. Personally and for a kid. What's the ideal kit depth for you? What's the ideal personal depth? What you just like to see?
I like to see 60 feet.
Yeah.
But I like my kits to be 40, 30.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of the things you said, Louis and I have had these exact conversations, and your answers, what are they doing, Louis?
Matching up exactly.
They're matching up exactly with mine. It's kind of funny. What do you? When do you start breeding and end breeding? Because some people have certain periods they breed.
I start breeding probably February, March.
Okay. A lot of people start breeding in December.
To like maybe November, like around this time I stop.
Okay. And as far as flying, what's your fly period look like?
March to October.
Okay. What period is it that you get hit the worst with the BOP?
Every month.
Wow. I remember the day it came over, you got hit. How do you feel about months? I didn't see very much. I didn't see any actually.
I don't like months.
Why?
I just don't. It just seems like it reminds me of a tumbler.
It doesn't remind you of a tumbler. Yeah. That's where they come from.
Yeah.
The matter of fact, the Western England tumbler.
Now, don't get me wrong, I like boots.
Yeah.
I mean, gross legs.
Yeah, heavy grouse legs.
I like those.
Okay.
Those are cool.
I didn't see any though.
I have 2.
Okay. So you're not a big fan of grouse-legged birds. Yeah, That's funny. Yeah, some people are just the opposite. But to me, I don't see it as an impediment to roll, you know? Yeah. When they got the big muffs, okay, yeah.
I saw a bird roll with big muffs, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It spent really nice.
The bird that I got when I got the paramyxovirus, it had muffs like that on it. And I watched that bird drop probably 80 to 100 feet. Dang. And like I said, when he said it wasn't for sale, and I pulled out $100, he said, nope. I pulled out another 20. He's like, no, take it. You know? Because back then, like I said, that was a lot of money, you know? Crest. Have you ever produced one? Never. Which is odd because you have English birds.
Yeah, they ain't threw one out yet.
But you know what they do.
I've had them for 5 years. So.
But you know they do it.
I've heard.
Yeah. I've known quite a few guys that have. Matter of fact, I remember. I don't want to mention their names because these are guys that are very proud and whatever. And this one guy, we went over to his house and he said, "Hey, I got a pair of birds for you." And I was like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, they came out with crest." And I'm like, "Well, what are they off of?" He said, "My main pair." And I was like, "What?" And he gave it to me. They're 2 blue bars. You know this guy. I'm gonna mention it. I'll tell you his name off the air, but
I already know.
So it's funny, but a lot of people don't understand that crest is not something that we introduced and put into the birds. The birds in Europe had crest already.
They did. Yeah.
If you look at Last of the Greats, you look at the bird, the book written by Thomas Hatcher. Mm-hmm. A lot of those birds in there were crested birds, and you look at a lot of the families. Because these birds weren't just crossed with rollers, they were crossed with utility birds. And a lot of those utility birds had crests on them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you go to a gas station sometimes, you see a commie, he's got a crest on him. Where'd that come from? That is already in the birds. It's not something... You know, it's funny because my crest family of birds that I started with came from Hectorcoya. Now, this is the funny thing because I thought, and it was a complete blunder on my behalf, but I thought because I had picked some crests from Hector Koya. And now Hector Koya is the only thing I don't like about those birds, they roll down.
Yeah.
He started with a roll down.
Yeah.
He's crossed them and done a lot of things to get them, but me personally, I just didn't know that he started that way. Once I did, I ended up moving past the birds. And there's this one cock that I had, and I had him in an open loft. So when there's an old bird, so I wanted to make some babies off of him so I could jam him up and have some of that blood around. So I did, and when I took the two babies off of him, and I jammed them back to each other, they produced a crest. So I only had one crest hen in that loft. And he wasn't mated to her, but he was notorious for jumping nest. So I said, well, those go back to Hector. So I gave Hector the crest, and I kept the other ones, because they were the original family. Years later, I gave a pair of my blur birds, which are the fastest ones that I have, to a friend of mine to breed. And he called me and he said, hey, those birds do a crest. And I'm like, which birds? He said, the ones that you gave me. And I'm like, that's impossible. They have nothing to do with Hector Koya's birds. He said, I know, but they threw a crest. And I'm like, he said they threw two. And I'm like, what? So I went to his house to get the birds and look at them. And I looked at them. And then it dawned on me, these birds were bred before I actually got the birds from Hector Koya. And I realized the birds that I had already had it in them. So the ones that I gave to Hector weren't even his, they were mine. And it's funny because the birds that I bred off of that family of birds, solid, don't roll down, great roll, they already had it in them. So just to tell you, a lot of these guys say, oh, you guys are ruining the birds because you crossed that. We didn't cross anything, it's already been there. I mean, some people focus on it. Me personally, a couple feathers on their head isn't gonna stop them. I think it's something unique, so I like it and I keep them around. But having a family of those that's stable is much better than having a family of those that tends to be unstable, Question. You have kids, right? Three kids, boys, girls?
2 girls, 1 boy.
Okay, how old are your kids?
23 and 2.
23 and 2, okay. So, how old is your son?
He's 3.
Okay. Does he like the birds at all?
Loves them.
Really? Okay. So my question will be, what's going to be your legacy? Is the next generation gonna move into pigeons?
I want him to go to college.
True.
And all that.
True.
And if he decides, he wants to do the birds and all that, that's fine.
Right.
They'll be here.
Right.
I
have 3 sons and a daughter.
Yeah.
And none of my kids like pigeons.
Yeah.
Except my daughter, the youngest one. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're lucky if you have a kid that likes them. Because mine, they don't like them at all. So how do we inspire the next generation in this hobby? Because that's the only way this hobby is gonna move forward.
You gotta you gotta catch them young. Shows, take them to shows, have them come watch your birds. I've given so many young cats birds, and it's crazy. It's hundreds.
Has any of them caught on? And
oh yeah.
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 That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I think I've done my share of trying to move people along in the hobby and get them. But it's funny because this show is called The Roller Pigeon Evolution. But the reason I call it Roller Pigeon Evolution has nothing to do with the pigeons. It's the individuals. It's the people. We have to evolve. But look at who you were when you first started, and look who you are today when it comes to the pigeons. As your knowledge grows, you evolve. So that's the whole evolution of it, not really the birds. If you could pick someone's brain, both alive or past, Pigeon Man, who would it be? Who would that guy be? So where you get into figure out exactly what he knew, how he knew it, and who would that person be?
Monty Nemo.
Monty Nemo.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we both lost that one, Lou, because we had a bet. We had a bet who you'd pick, and we both lost.
Who do you think I was gonna pick?
So I thought you would pick Pensum, and who did you say?
I thought you would pick somebody English or something, maybe.
Right. So we both lost. We had $1 bet. Okay. Who would you say, if you were looking out there at other clubs or other just people who would you say has some of the best roll that you've seen in the last 6 months? If you were to say, I haven't had any birds and I had to go to this guy to get birds, this local guy, who would that be? They're just solid competitor, great birds, and so on.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Marsh. Oh no, right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I would go to probably either Art or Arnold.
Arnold Jackson or
Art.
Art.
Art Martinez.
Okay. Didn't he win the World Cup at one time?
He won. He came in 5th.
In the world. Okay. Yeah. Art Martinez or Arnold Jackson. Why? Tell me. Oh, so for Arnold's birds, why?
Well, I have them, so you know. It's,
Oh, I didn't know you had Arnold birds
yeah,
too.
I just started working with them and the other birds.
What did you like about them? What?
The quality.
Okay. The quality of the spin, the
Yes.
depth, what?
Yes, the quality.
Across the board. Yeah. I've known Arnold for a
I had the
long
reason
time.
why I started with Arnold and them, the guy, because I got some birds from a guy in Texas named Paul Daniels.
Okay.
They all have the same Courtney birds.
Okay.
So Art has them too. They all have all their birds are based off this one hen or something, a black and white hen or something. And that's how I started. I said, okay, well I'm gonna grab some from Art and Arnold.
You noticed something about Arnold's birds? When I was back there at his place looking at the birds, as far as type and size, it's almost like you're looking at one bird.
Mm-hmm.
There's no variation.
Yes.
They're all exactly the same.
Yes.
You go from 1 kit, 2 kit, 3 kit,
Yep.
and it's almost like you looked at one kit.
Yep.
Yeah, no. Arnold is a master manipulator when it comes to the birds because he can tweak them and
Yes.
yeah, no. He's been like that for years, you know. And it's funny, we talk about color. Is that your Homer?
For a white one?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. He's been doing this for years. And at one time he had creams, he had duns. He had some of the best looking creams I've ever seen in my life. I mean, some birds that weren't cream and they weren't done. They were both.
The full house stuff.
Yeah, man, it was crazy.
Yep.
This is a trip. But yeah, Arnold definitely has some amazing birds. So, eye color. Do you think is there any importance?
No.
Or are they just to be seen out of?
Most of my English birds, they're bull.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bull-eye, pearl-eye.
So bull-eye doesn't make any difference to you
No, it
either?
doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, some guys won't breed out of a bull-eye bird. They don't like bull-eye birds.
Can't see them in the air.
I co-sign that one. Eye color doesn't mean anything. Now, do you worm your birds?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a bird that was sick, and I ended up and it was literally my number one, what I call project hen.
Mm-hmm.
She is the basis of my entire family, and she's 1996 is her band number, and I don't know what happened to this hen, and she got sick. She went down on me, lost all her weight, her eyes started looking glazed over, and I'm like, I can't lose this bird. If I lost her, yes, I have sons, I have daughters, you know, but I have so much more to do with that bird.
Yeah.
I did not want to end there, and so she wouldn't gain any weight. I mean, it was to the point where I was force feeding her. I would literally fill up a little like turkey baster thing, fill up her gut, and she'd live, but she wouldn't get any better. And I worm my birds usually every 6 months. But I got her in between that time so she didn't get wormed. I wormed this bird, dude, and I would say no less than 60 worms came out of her. Freaked me out. Yeah, I use these little tabs for roundworms, and the worms are about 2 inches long, about the size of a toothpick. But if you know the length of a pigeon's intestines and how small that is, to have that many worms in it, what was happening? Everything she was eating, all the nutrients she was taking in, was being eaten by them. She wasn't getting any of that. So as soon as the worms came out, her weight started going back, and she has really, really improved. But it's extremely important to worm your birds.
Oh, yeah.
How often do you worm them?
Like every 4 months.
Yeah, so you do even more than me. Yeah, I just bought some of the Ivamac wormer.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive. but it's
Actually,
worth
I
getting.
just wormed them today. It's
Really?
Crazy part, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, extremely, extremely important to worm your birds. Now, a lot of people prep their birds when they're kit training their birds or the day of competition. Do you prep?
No.
You know, now, tell me about some of the things that you've heard that people do to get their birds ready. Because for people at home,
you'll be hearing people take away the water.
uh huh,
People don't feed their birds the day before.
right,
People stuff them 2 days before the fly, and then people hit them with the wheat Milo. I've seen a guy, the Reggie Stewart guy, feed before he flies.
Like, yeah, I've seen somebody do that too.
Yeah, he did that, and I was like,
how did they do?
The wind came.
Oh, okay.
So we really couldn't see him that day. I just fly my birds like how I fly them every day and feed them how I fly them every day. Because if you mess something up, you're gonna mess the birds up.
Yeah. Because the nutritional balance is gonna change.
Yeah.
And it does affect that.
And see, I got older birds, so I can go two days without flying, without them, messing up.
Right. Young birds, you do that. They're gonna sky up on you. They're gonna do. Yeah. So how do you feel about when I say holdover birds? Is that something you do, or you just fly from a kit that you're flying that you bred that year? How do you?
I fly holdovers every year.
So explain to people at home what a holdover kit is.
It's a bird you've flown out for over a year, or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever.
Right.
It's never no yearlings. Like you don't fly. If it's 2020, you're flying 2020 birds for a competition. Don't expect too much, because you're like I tried it one time with the same year bird.
Right.
And if you hold them in that one day, you're gonna get 2 or 3 that's gonna fly out.
Crumble on you. Yeah. So one of the things he's saying, in order to compete at the highest levels, you've got to have holdover birds that have been there, that have worked as a team, and that will operate that way. It's not, like I said, not that it's impossible to do it with a first year kit, but it's going to be luck. That's not something you want to do. You want to make sure that you have holdover birds that have been doing it for a while.
And what I be really tripping about, like if people be on the internet,
right,
and they'll be like posting, oh, this is my best producer.
Right.
How do you know it's your best producer and you never flown a bird over 2 years?
Yeah, maybe those birds in the second year crash.
That's what I understand. To know if your bird's a good producer, you gotta fly the babies of that bird. This is another thing. If the bird's a good producer,
right,
the baby has to be a good producer.
Exactly. He has to produce birds that can produce.
Exactly.
Birds.
That's a good producer. So they be
one
some birds
generation
in there that they ain't even produce yet. How you know if it's a good producer if you ain't got babies that produce stuff?
Well, he makes good kit birds.
For about what, 6 months?
Exactly. And then do those kit birds produce good kit birds, or is that the end of the line right there?
That's just
exactly. So when I talk about muscle, and you've seen the other videos I've done, when I talk about muscle, what does that mean to you? Is that something that you take into consideration when
Oh yeah, I love muscle.
Okay. Now something that Lou and I were talking about is that there are some people that talk about back muscle and some people that talk about overall muscle. Me personally, I talk about overall muscle. Because if it's just back muscle, to me, that's not enough. You know what I mean? To get to that high velocity spin, it's got to be overall muscle. You know, I did an example with Lou, and I told him, I said, I want to show you what I'm talking about when we're talking about muscle. Now, these are birds that have never been flown. These are kit birds that I've literally just pulled out of the nest, and they're in the kit, and they're just eating. And I told him, close your eyes, and I handed him a bird. I said, there's your basic bird, no real muscle. And then I handed him the other one. What was your response, Lou?
Wow.
Yeah, that's the difference between a bird having muscle out of the nest and a bird not having. You know, it's like if they put you in a room with Arnold Schwarzenegger, told you to, and blindfolded you, and then they sat John Candy next to him, and they said, put your hand out and tell us which one of these has muscle. It wouldn't be too hard to figure it out. To me, it's that stark of a difference between birds that have muscle and birds that don't. And for me, I take those birds that come out of the nest, never been flown, stock, done.
Yeah, all my muscle comes from one bird.
Which is the
number 4.
Which bird is that?
He's all muscle. And I used to ask guys, I'm like, when they come over here, I'm like, would you buy this bird at the pet shop? 99% will say no.
Did I see him?
No, you ain't seen him.
Grab him, I want to take a look at him. So the last question that we had asked Will was about muscle, and he had a cockbird that he showed us. Matter of fact, I'm going to show the cockbird to you. So this is, again, an extreme representation of a muscle cock. I really like this bird. A lot of people would look at this bird and think he's too big, but he's actually perfect for a muscle cock. Beautiful, beautiful bird. And the bird next to him is actually his son. That's his son, correct?
Yeah.
So one of the things that it would tell you that this bird carries dilute because he produced the dilute. Nice, really, really, really nice bird. I like that. And if you look at this bird, just look at how he stands. Beautiful, beautiful specimen. Really, really nice birds. So, muscle cock, his son, really, really nice specimen. Now, Will, would you give us kind of a tour of the lofts and let's take a quick look at the birds?
Come on,
Let's go this way. All right. So these are your individuals here?
Yeah, these are my individuals right up here.
Nice, nice, beautiful. Get a up close to some of the birds in there, so the people at home could see them.
And those are all my fosters.
And then right over here, this is your
Open loft.
Your open loft.
Yeah.
Nice. Got a lot of babies too coming out.
And
So-
this is mostly white heat over here.
Okay, these are mostly white heat birds. Okay. Now, do you know who bred the original white heat hen?
Nah, I really
A
don't.
guy by the name of Leonard Cahill from Oregon.
Oh, okay.
That's who bred the original white heat hen.
See, that's that cock right there, the white, solid white?
Uh-huh.
That's my main cock. I call him
Okay.
Clinton.
Right.
I put him on probably about 15 hens already.
Wow. Wow.
Clinton was in my kit for about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I finally took him out.
Solid, solid, solid.
And
All
over
right,
here,
what are these over here?
all these fosters, all fosters. Right
Ah, okay.
there. That's how you get over a bird. As you can see, you see bald heads on checks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all fosters.
Right, right, right. There's just this is the factory basically.
And then right here, this is mostly, this is what I was telling you about the Art Martinez and Arnold Jackson.
Okay.
This is Paul Daniels and Art Martinez right here. Courtney birds. Right
Okay.
Here. This right here is my cross with the white heat and Mason.
Okay. So
Right
which
here.
the Mason, the hen or the cock?
Well, they both crossed.
Oh, they're both crossed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And over here is white heat and Mason. And this right here is my best pair from the white heat and Mason cross. And this bird actually was a Mason cock that was flying at Manny Moreno's Latino heat.
Yeah.
Flying him at the house. Manny didn't like him. So he said, we'll take that bird. I said, okay, best bird in this kit to me. And I took it, and this white heat hen right here.
About how deep was the cock?
Oh, about 40 feet. Fast.
Wow.
Nice. He a big bird too. He's a big, long bird.
Right, right.
As you can see, I can show you how long he is. But he spins his ass off. Yeah. You see the longness of
Oh
him?
yeah. Typical English.
Yeah. But hey.
But I like him. I like
yeah,
him.
I like him too, and I like his roll.
He's a beautiful bird.
And he throws some very good babies, man. Oh, I never go. This is actually his son right here.
He throws a lot of models like him too.
Yeah.
Badged up,
Yep.
should I say?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, let's see the rest. One of the things that I like is that your kit setup. You got so many kits.
Watch your step. Supposed to build my deck thing like
This is nice. How you got it set up to where the kits are on the inside.
Yeah.
So take a look at this. Take a look at this, guys. This is the back side of his kit loft. So lets the birds out from the other side. Take a shot down here, Lynn. So looking from this side, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 kits. Again, I talked about being able to hold over birds, and if you're going to compete at the highest level, you have to have enough kits. Yeah, tell us a little bit about what's in here. This is everything you've bred. How many kits is this right now?
10.
So it's all 10 filled.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see your feed bill.
Oh, that's not that bad.
No?
Nah.
Good. because mine is high. Wow, beautiful, beautiful.
A lot of badges. Yeah.
That's the English influence, I was thinking.
This is actually the kit right here that flew in the Royal Rumble.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Besides this hen right here.
See, that is what you call true silver. That's the same, like the one that I showed you, you were showing me downstairs. Yeah. Yep. Very nice, very nice. What's the one up in the corner there?
Oh, the white grizzly?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he the Mason.
Okay. Yeah, they come out with that odd marking on.
This right here, this bird was probably the best bird in the kit, which is the Kevin Monroe hen right here.
Right.
I flew her last year. She's a 2018. She is something.
What's her depth?
She's about 40 feet. But she's fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like all you see is black. You don't see the white.
You don't see the white at all.
You see how I'm talking? Then you got this hen over here. This is one of my. She's in my A team as well. I just put her over here. This is one of the ones I put back in the kit because she wouldn't lay any eggs. She's 11 years old.
She's fast. You can tell she's working.
She's
too.
off 4.
Oh, off that same cock bird. Nice. Yeah.
No, she's not. No, she's a sister to 4.
This one's a sister?
The same mom and daddy, yeah.
Wow. And you're still flying her?
She can't lay eggs.
Oh, she's an older bird.
Yeah. She never laid eggs for me, period, ever.
Wow.
Yep.
And she's a 2009.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's never laid eggs for me before, but she been in my
you can
kit.
tell she's working. I mean, she's working.
She works.
Wow. Her tail. When was the last time she flew?
About a week ago. I'm gonna let them out.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I'm not this one.
Right.
He's from here down.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I see a bird that's grouse laying in there.
Which one?
The little black and white.
That's what I told you. I was wondering when I get cross leg.
Yeah. And that, believe it or not, will produce you a full month.
For real? Oh yeah. I ain't got it yet.
No, because you haven't crossed it back to the same.
Oh.
You cross it back to the same stuff that it is.
And
I don't know which side that comes from, her mother or father. So whichever one it is, if you cross her back into that,
yeah,
it'll come out complete.
I'm gonna keep my distance.
Yeah. So Will's gonna let out his kit. We're gonna get an opportunity to see some of these birds in the air. Whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna let out 2.
You got it.
Run that shit up, Robbie.
Everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Roller Pigeon Evolution. I'd like to thank Mr. Stenhouse for inviting us over. And make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, you only know what you know.